Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Saturday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Remember, Brock Rock and Wine presented by Audi of Baton Rouge, 1 week away. Love to see as many of you there as possible. Tickets available at brortho.com. Wine, food, live music in the South Stadium Club, Tiger Stadium. What a venue. Hope to see you all there 1 week from today. Let's see. Okay. Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com. Awful weather yesterday and last night. If you had roof issues, give us a shout. Parish link pinned in the chat. Unique Physique, semaglutide, tirzepatide, the once-a-week injections for weight loss. You've heard about it. If you want to learn more, see if you're a candidate. Unique Physique, they're here in Baton Rouge, and you can have that initial consult over the phone. You can do telemed if you'd prefer not to physically go in. They can do it for you over at Unique Physique. And, of course, Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com. We'll say some good morning, y'all. Big day for LSU on the recruiting front. An LSU class for 2025, which has the potential to end up finishing the number one class in America before all is said and done. Two more elite prospects set to make their announcements today. 5-star wide receiver Derek Meadows out of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. He is thought to be a heavy LSU lean. Notre Dame was the team that sort of led throughout that process. LSU apparently made a very strong impression. And Meadows was supposed to announce last Saturday. Well, he put it off a week, so he's announcing today. And the expectation is that Meadows is going to pick LSU. So, we'll wait for that decision, but it should be good news. Remember, Teron Francis out of Edna Carr is the only receiver LSU currently has committed. They've taken some big swings. DeCorian Moore had been committed. Decommitted. Now he's committed to Oregon. They ran on guys like Jamie French. So LSU has made their run at the biggest name prospects in this class, but Meadows is 6'6", 205. 24/7 rates him actually as a 5-star, the number 32 overall player in the country. In the composite, he's number 41, the 7th best receiver, a 4-star. So we will wait and see what happens with Derek Meadows, but that should be good news for LSU. And then, excuse me, the other one is a name we all know well. We've talked a ton about by now, and it's Jaboree Antoine, the cornerback out of Westgate. The expectation is that he's going to pick Miami, and that would sting to have an in-state kid leave. But as we often talk about, if you're going to miss on a guy, you want him to go out of state and out of the conference. So go to Miami. Don't go to Alabama or Texas or someone like that. So Jaboree Antoine down to LSU and Miami. We'll see if Corey Raymond and LSU can could pull off a late stunner like they did with DJ Pickett. But we'll get those two announcements today and hopefully see this LSU class grow by 1 or 2 elite prospects as push toward signing day of 2025. Okay. Trivia, I was thinking about you, man. Thank you for the tweet. You got it. I was thinking about you, Trivia. I'll tweet it on the weekends, man. I just don't want to tweet when I'm live during OTB. So you got it. Happy to be there. Happy you're here, Trivia. Hey, Steve, good morning, man. Hope you're doing great. Brad, good morning. Kyle DeVille, what's up, Matt? Hope y'all have a great day. We're off to NSU football camp. Okay. Watched your chat with Super Talk Mississippi. I agree. I don't get the Milrow hype. I'm not purporting to be some type of scout or expert or anything like that, but I watched Alabama play a bunch last year, and I watched Milrow. He obviously a dynamic runner. There's no doubt about that. And he was very good on the deep ball last year. But my contention is, did you see him fit deep balls into tight windows a bunch? Or did he just have Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond, and those guys were just running free downfield? We'll see. But your top 3 pass catchers are gone. And that was maybe the thing that stood out most to me when I talked to Jim Nagy this week at Media Days. Because I asked him about Milrow, and he said, even if Milroe is improved, are we going to need to see it? Because I don't think the talent around him is what it was. So that was really telling. So, yeah, I mean, I got Bama 9-3 this year. I got them losing to Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU. So home loss to Georgia, road losses to Tennessee and LSU. So we'll see. Brennan Huff, Club Ruckus, Peter Fennert, Wendell Norman, Jonathan Martin. What up, y'all? Hey, Brennan. Perkins had 7 sacks. Jackson rushed for 250 yesterday in my NCAA football debut. Glad to hear it. Patrick, what's going on, man? Abner, H. Willie, morning, Matt. Just went on vacation at Point 30A for the first time in Rosemary, for sure, going back. It's a great spot, man. And the funny thing is, as much as Terrio joked and hated on 30A, they've gone now the last 2 years, and he loves it. It's a great spot, man. It's beautiful. Strong side, good morning. Hope the Scone family and Dr. Cricket are doing well this morning. Dr. Cricket did, in fact, text me this morning already because, so I don't know if y'all know Devin Snow, a.k.a. Hold the Mayo. So last night, it's 11:30, whatever. We're getting ready for bed, and I'm scrolling Twitter, and there's a video from Hold the Mayo on Twitter. And so I start watching it, and it's just, yeah, I'm live compilation. And it's recorded phone calls. And y'all, let me say this. It is not morning Scone worthy, or morning Scone appropriate. That's what I should say. Morning Scone appropriate. It is vulgar, and if you are easily offended, it is horrendous. I'm just telling you, if you're easily offended, you will not enjoy this. If you have that kind of sense of humor, I laughed for 13 minutes straight. I mean, I got a 13-minute ab workout watching that video yesterday. Hey, Juice Williams, feeling good this morning. Think we get both guys? I hope so. It seems to be that they're going to get Meadows. We'll see what happens with Jaboree Antoine. I would love to think that Corey, being from New Iberia, LSU, one of the things worth keeping in mind, y'all, and I probably should have mentioned this before. The Tigers had, I really should have mentioned this before. Man, I can't believe I didn't mention this. So LSU had in the collective $500,000 offers for Brian Thomas, Mason Smith, Mekhi Wingo. So that was 1.5. Obviously, none of them came back. They also, as we well know, offered, as I've told you, $6-figure amounts to Dominic Williams, the defensive lineman, and the kid out of Michigan State, Simeon Barrow. I mean, there was a couple $1 million of dry powder that LSU didn't use. So on guys for this roster, they thought would be, that they were trying to entice to come back. So you're sitting on some opportunity for this recruiting class, right? So maybe they can get in there and be really competitive and make a push and get Jaboree Antoine back in this class. That'd be great. Kyrie Diggs, morning, Unk. Hope Pels would keep BI. It looks probable now. Love the potential what they can be now with a real point guard. CJ needs to move to the bench, though, for it to work. Not sure I agree, man. Because it all really depends on stylistically what they want to be. I think we've seen. I think Zion and BI are going to thrive Now, maybe adding Murray, it changes that. Really rather get a big. We'll see. But it's got to be the right deal. I'm with you on that. It's got to be the right deal. Juice, only place to come to get my LSU news. Thank you, man. Hey, Larry, good morning. Jerry, what up, Jerry? Been a minute, man. Hope you're doing good. Brian, morning, Matt. Finally got to watch Zion Williams' interview. Sounds like a great kid. We'll have a job behind the mic when his football days are done. Yeah, he was great, man. Zion Williams is the defensive line commitment out of Lufkin, Texas. He was awesome on AFR. Mike, good morning from Jersey. Is it a coincidence LSU only received commitments on offense first, then now starting to get defensive commitments now? Yeah, I mean, I think they were in on their offensive targets. I mean, they haven't been ignoring defense, but they were just in on their offensive targets. They popped those guys early. And now you're starting to see the defensive commits come along. Some of them, like we just mentioned, Zion Williams and Brandon Brown, a couple of defensive linemen were loyal to Bo Davis, so they came over with Bo Davis. So it wasn't going to happen until Bo got here. Hey, Austin, good morning. Did the crowd strike fiasco mess you up at all yesterday? I lost nearly a full day of productivity at work. It's amazing how vulnerable our technology is. This is why I prep. No, we didn't get messed up yesterday, man, thankfully. So one time during AFR, we lost internet, and so our stream crashed, and then we had to restart the YouTube stream. That's it. Other than that, we're good. Y'all do me a favor, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. We appreciate y'all for being there. As always, shout out to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Brock Rock and Wine, 1 week from today. Get your tickets, brortho.com, brortho.com, and of course, Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Leon, good morning. Brooke Bordeaux, good morning. Let's see. Kelly Gross, good morning. Stephen Sloan, Michael Castello, Kelly Presley. Randall, good morning. ESPN has Nuss ranked as the 8th best quarterback in the SEC. The disrespect is real. Is it, though, Randall? Is it? Like, is it really? I mean, like, I like Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's going to be a really good player. But, I mean, he's been a backup for 3 years, man. He started one game. You know? He threw 57 attempts in 21, 84 attempts in 22, 78 attempts this past year. Most of that was the bowl game. Like, is the disrespect really that real? Or is he just a guy that hasn't played a lot, so they're waiting to see? I'm not trying to be combative this morning, man. The disrespect thing, it's not disrespect. It's like nobody fills out something like that and says, let me see how I can disrespect LSU. It's just not how it works, man. Like, I mean, all Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers and Connor Wigman and Jalen Milroe, I mean, all these guys are in mock drafts as first-round picks. You got a whole bunch of guys that have started football games. I didn't even see that stupid list. I just don't get down with disrespect. Like, how about this? Let's let Nussmeier start a season and then see how it works. I mean, what if he goes out and throws 18 touchdowns and 16 interceptions? I mean, now I think he's going to go throw for 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and hopefully single-digit interceptions. But it's not disrespect, man. Brett, good morning. Oh, nice. That is the best blends. That's straight from the barrel, for those that don't know. Kyrie, you don't think Milroe can make a JD-ish improvement? No, I don't. I think Jaden Daniels showed all the promise and potential in 2020. And by the way, Kyrie, nobody can dispute me on this. I was the one from day one saying that Jaden Daniels was going to start when everybody was on the Miles Brennan train. I was the one who said, you don't go get that guy who's a 3-year starter from Arizona State to have him sit the bench. And lo and behold, he started. And all throughout the first season, when people wanted to bench Jaden Daniels because really doesn't take enough chances, but I was like, the reason you were good was because his running ability created plays behind a horrible offensive line, and his ability to protect the football extended drives and didn't get you beat. So I saw all that. Milroe had great receivers last year. He had a really good offensive line last year. Maybe didn't have great running backs, but he was a dynamic runner as well. No, I don't believe in Jalen Milroe. I may be dead wrong. He may prove me dead wrong and make me look foolish. But I mean, I watched that game against Michigan. I watched them play South Florida. I watched. Yeah, I think that was a game where he was benched. Remember, he started. Jalen Milroe started the season for Alabama, and the offense was so bad early they benched him and played the other kid against South Florida, and he was terrible too. I mean, at Mississippi State, 164 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Against A&M, 21 of 33. I mean, he threw for 321, 3 scores, which, yeah, that's impressive. But like 21 of 33, he hit a couple of deep shots in that one. Arkansas, 10 of 21. I mean, Georgia, 13 of 23. The Michigan game, 16 of 23 for 116 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Come on. Like, what is that rooted in? I just don't get it. Leon, I read that one. Make defense great again. Morning, Matt. Do you think Corey is down there talking to Jaboree today? I don't know, man. I heard one of the national guys yesterday say that he had turned off his phone and isn't, taking calls anymore. But then to your point, I guess if he's there, maybe he's like at his house. Scott Beckham, what's going on? Hey, Chef, good morning. Carl the Cat, how soon till the new scoreboard is ready? I'm not sure when it's going to be done, Carl. I mean, you got till September. Scott, good morning. Really enjoying Locked On LSU. Glad you're doing it. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody who's watched and followed along and listened. So on your favorite podcast app, if you would subscribe to Locked On LSU, I'd appreciate it greatly. If you'd rather watch, it's on YouTube as well. Just Locked On LSU, posting content every day. So weekdays in the 25-minute range, weekends 15-minute range. So Scott Broughton, good morning. Let's see. Watch out for Cooper Flagg and Duke next year. Young boy got to play against the best this summer. He's going to be a problem. He's been impressive, man. The team, he obviously popped in those games against Team USA. It was impressive, no doubt. Brian, love waking up to watch championship golf. Okay. Lisa, good morning. Brian Turner, really hope LSU gets Derek Meadows. I know cornerback is a need, but that guy is a freak athlete. I watched him when Gorman played Long Beach Poly last year. 6'6", 200 pounds, that don't lie. And LSU also doesn't have a receiver like that. Now they've got Kamorian Pimpton, who's 6'6", and they're bringing in Trey'Dez Green, who's 6'6", 6'7", who fit that mold of the tall, long pass catcher, but they're tight ends. Meadows is a receiver, so you don't have a 6'6" receiver, but boy, that'd be a problem. That would kind of be a little bit of a throwback to when you had who's those guys? There was that stretch where remember when A&M came into the league and they had Mike Evans and then there's really big receivers. Les started recruiting big receivers, and God, what was that guy's name? Of course, they had guys like Stephon Sullivan and oh man, it's gonna drive me crazy. I think he went number 11. It's gonna drive me crazy now, man. This is really gonna drive me crazy if I can't remember the name of that receiver. Derek, maybe alliteration. Anderson? Derek Anderson? Was that it? Jazz Ferguson was 6'5". You remember that run? Who am I thinking of? Was it Derek Anderson? Not Derek Anderson was the quarterback at something Anderson. Who am I thinking of? D. Anderson. D. Anderson. That was it. It was close. Stephon Sullivan, D. Anderson, all those guys. Drake Davis was 6'3". Jazz Ferguson. That was it. I knew it was going to hit me. I knew it was Anderson something. And I was close with Derek Anderson. It was the D. It was D-E. Anyway. I mean, that's LSU went on that long stretch where they were recruiting those big guys because Les was trying to basically mirror what A&M was doing with Mike Evans and those giant receivers. I don't think LSU's had one since about that time. Kevin Toller, good morning from the Plains and Zachary. All right, dude. Glad you're back in Louisiana. Brian, Derek Meadows is Brian Thomas clone. Love to see that. Johnny Troxler, strong side. Can we have a thesis writing party with Terrio, T-Bob, and Moose? For those that missed it, Terrio wants to be called Dr. Ryan Terrio. He wants to write a thesis and have like a board approve his doctorate as being a doctor of baseball. Let's see. Herb coming off the bench. Mark, what's your take on emerging star for Pelicans, Carlo Matkovic in Summer League play? Have not watched a minute of the Pelicans in Summer League basketball, Mark. All week I was at SEC Media Days, and I barely spoke to my wife for a week. That's how busy that week is. So have not watched the emerging star for the Pels in the Summer League. H. Willie, not sure if you said the time of the commitment stay. I saw Jaboree's at 4, Meadows might be at 2. Yeah, later this afternoon. Kevin, is that a CYPB on yourself? Well, that's the entire Weller lineup there, right? So you've got Special Reserve, 107, 12, CYPB, single barrel, foolproof. Got them all right there. And then William LaRue is right there. So yes. Mr. Wallace, Perkins at the mic. I think he performs better there than on the edge. Maybe. You know what it does, Mr. Wallace? It prevents him from dropping in coverage, but at times he was good in coverage last year. I mean, he had the interception against Missouri, which kind of turned the tide of that whole game. Michael, kind of anxious to see Shelton on the field, hoping he can make a statement this season. I'm with you, Michael. Talking about Shelton Sampson, it just goes to show you when you look at receivers, though, if you go Kyron Lacey, Chris Hilton, CJ Daniels, Xavion Thomas, maybe Aaron Anderson, Shelton Sampson would be your sixth. Your number 6 receiver. Maybe he can pop and make more of a emerge, have more of a presence this year. But it sure feels like 25 would be his next year. If they didn't go out and get the 2 transfers, then yeah, this would be the year for Shelton Sampson. But it's the thing with the portal era, man. Now, when you have the opportunity to go get a guy that was a 1,000-yard receiver, I mean, you go get him. Brian Penn, good morning from Franklin, KY. All right, Brian, drive safe today, man. Michael Cook, stat better year at quarterback, Nuss or Carr? Nuss. Oh my God, come on. Kyle DeVille, I can get down with Nuss being 8th ranked. I don't get the hype with Beck or Milroe. I think Beck is elevated by his team, and Jalen's a running back that sometimes throws. I'm curious on Beck. I think he could be really good. He's got the size, the arm strength, confidence, all that stuff. He's got all the stuff. But I wonder the same thing. Is it a situation like with Stetson Bennett where he wasn't really that good? He was just the quarterback of the best team. I don't know. But you say that about a lot of guys. I mean, Burrow was a quarterback with NFL receivers and running back and offensive line all over him. It was an NFL offense, but Burrow was still really good. Jeremy Vince, if Bryce was in the quarterback room this year, would he start? And would you rank him the 8th best quarterback? No, I think Nussmeier would start. I mean, he's still a guy that's going to year 4. But who cares what rankings are anyway? I mean, if you're just joining, someone was talking about, it was Randall who's asking about the disrespect of ESPN ranking Nuss is the 8th best quarterback in the SEC. I'm like, it's not. Is it really disrespect, or is it just we just don't know yet? Lauren, do you still see attrition from the baseball portal class like the first base DH guys? I think you could. Now, keep in mind, Lauren, that could also happen in the fall. You can go through fall baseball and still lose guys after fall. When you go through fall and you realize, and sometimes rosters are heavy in the fall, so you have more than your 40-man limit in the fall. You go through fall, and then you might have some attrition then. So just something worth keeping in mind. Barry, what's up? Steven, what's good, my dude? Hope you're feeling good, man. Hope you're feeling better. Need to check on you, man. You still in the hospital? Steven had back surgery. I don't think you would mind me mentioning. Arthur Coco, Terrence Tolliver was before those guys, though. You're right. Tolliver was huge, but he was before. But there it is, the Anderson. But Tolliver was before those guys. Tolliver signed in 08. Tolliver was a freshman in 08. He played 8, 9, 10. These guys were in like the 14, 15, 16 range. Is Meadows like a taller Keon Coleman? Good comp. Coleman's about 6'4". Yeah, good comp. Cross there. Yep. Yeah, Derek Anderson was the Oregon State quarterback. I got there. D. Anderson. I got there eventually. There they are. Thank y'all. Yep. I knew I was close. I was just tap dancing around it. Kendrick Rogers was the big no. You're no. Not the 7, that was 2018. And I'm not guessing about that. I'm telling, like, this was a thing. So when A&M came into the league in 2012, they had Mike Evans, and there was another let's see. They had that was defense. Hang on. Okay. Mike Evans. Swope was a small guy. Malcolm Kennedy. Was Malcolm Kennedy the other one? Matt Jokel. Wow, what are these old names? It Wakachu. It might have been Kennedy. No, he was 6 foot. Who's the other one I was thinking of? Maybe it was 2013. Anyway, it was Mike Evans, and then there was another really tall receiver, and they kind of gave everybody fits because when you had corners that were 5'11", 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, and then Labhart. Wow. Darrell Walker. There's one more I'm forgetting. I can't remember. Anyway, there's another big receiver I'm forgetting. But so Les started after that started recruiting. That's when they started getting Jazz Ferguson, D. Anderson, Stephon Sullivan. They started recruiting those guys that were like 6'5", 6'6" for that reason, to try to create the physical mismatch. Terrence Tolliver was awesome, man. Tolliver was I noticed like every year. I think I talked about this. I did talk about this recently in a Locked On episode. Every year we go out to fall camp, there's always like a freshman you look at for the first time and you're like, oh my God. And like, I still like I know the ones that were those guys. There was Tolliver was one of them. Patrick Peterson, Corey Thompson was one of them. There was a linebacker who never worked out at LSU, but he's a linebacker from West Monroe. Call it 2008. Shamari Clemens, that was it. Ooh, y'all, Shamari Clemens. It never worked out with him at LSU, but I'm just looking physically. Like, you went up to practice the first day and you looked at Shamari Clemens and you were like, oh my God, who is that? There's always those guys. Dave Clark, I'm Matt from Massachusetts. What's up, Dave? Hope you're doing well. Rocky, good morning. Busy week for sure. Craig, Terry will be legendary as a doctor, right up there with the famous Dr. Pepper. Yeah, Dr. Pepper, Dr. Thunder, Dr. Love. Come here, Dr. Love. Dr. Doolittle. Lots of doctors. Club Ruckus, got to tell Terrio that the best nicknames are bestowed on you, not chosen. I tell him that often, Club Ruckus. He wanted a nickname, so he came up with the Cricket thing and wants everybody to call him Cricket. Actually, in his office at Parrish, like sitting next to his desk on the wall, he's got a Cricket nameplate that either he had made or somebody made for him. Cricket. Louis Malhoit. How things have changed at Bama when they're talking about Saban motivating the team from afar by not picking them to win the SEC championship game. Yeah, I mean, I keep saying, Lewis, that the fact that Alabama fans are so obsessed with me doing my Bama is burning rants that they keep flexing about recruiting tells you really all you need to know. I can't remember in 20 years ever having Alabama fans flood my mentions to flex about recruits. So, whatever. Shout out to my buddy Coach Steeples. Didn't work. Now an Iowa State offensive analyst. He said he's the only brother in the state of Iowa. I did talk about that, though, H. Willie, and it's not a knock on Steeples, and I hope he does great, man. From all indications, he's a great dude. But that was, in my opinion, the biggest mistake Brian Kelly made was not retaining Corey Raymond and hiring Robert Steeples. Steeples may go on to be a great coach, but he went from high school coach to 1 year in the NFL as a special teams assistant to the LSU cornerbacks coach replacing Corey Raymond. And now he's an offensive analyst at Iowa State. So, I mean, I wish him well. It's nothing on him. But when your first college job shouldn't be the DB job at LSU. And it clearly, that room clearly got gutted over the last 3 years. So I wish him well, though. Tiger Diver, morning, Scone. What's your confidence level on LSU getting the 2 recruits today? Yeah, Tiger Diver, I think they get Meadows. Again, I have never had a conversation with either of those young men, so I do not know. I'm just piecing together basically what the convo around those guys seems to be. They get Meadows, and it sounds like Antoine's going to go to Miami, but maybe LSU pulls a stunner like they did with Pickett. I mean, everybody thought Pickett was going to Oregon, so we'll see. Jason, how long till Oregon tries to buy Corey Raymond? I don't think Corey's leaving again, bro. Jeremy Vince, the 2 commits, they're going to commit today. Do you know what time they're doing it? Let's see. I thought Meadows. I thought Meadows. Didn't somebody say Meadows was about 2:00 and Antoine was about 4:00? Here you go. So Meadows is at 2 p.m. Central. So Meadows is today at 2 p.m. Central. And well, trying to find Jaboree Antoine's time. Let me see. 4 p.m. Yeah, there it is. It's on. Antoine just tweeted it 4 minutes ago. 4 p.m. So 2 p.m. for Meadows, 4 p.m. for Antoine. Rex, good morning. David, I need Dramamine to watch the Open. The camera work is less than desirable. Or is it just, I'm not watching it, but is it that the wind is blowing the camera all around? Could be. Brian Claus thought Tolliver was going to be a dude in the NFL. Murder Giraffe, what's going on? Dr. Schultz, Dr. Frankenstein. LSU had the nation's number 1 receiver almost every other year. Randall, Tolliver, Tyron Johnson, Malachi Dupree, Terrace Marshall. Yep, they had a heck of a run. I mean, look, here's breaking news, right? LSU always has guys that run fast, jump high, and can catch the ball. I mean, just there's never a shortage of them, man. They've always had receivers. This was fascinating. Did y'all catch my interview with Zach Blackerby from Locked on Auburn? I don't know if you've looked at this, but do you know who the all-time leading receivers in Auburn history? Like I asked him, I was like, do you know who the best receiver, like who's the best ever receiver at Auburn? Because we were talking about Cam Coleman. So Cam Coleman's a freshman at Auburn this year, receiver, and they're super high on him. Like he's probably the best freshman receiver they've ever had. And I kind of pushed back. I'm like, really? That's like, that really? And so I looked up, I was like, who's the best receiver? So Auburn's all-time career leading receiver is Terry Beasley from 1969 to 1971. Next is Tyrone Goodson, Karsten Bailey, Seth Williams, Courtney Taylor, Emory Blake, Frank Sanders, Darvin Adams, Freddie Wygan, Lawyer Tillman, Sammy Coates, Darius Slayton. I mean, Darius Slayton is the best NFL receiver they've had. Rodriguez Smith, sorry. Byron Franklin, Ryan Davis, Ronnie Daniels, Anthony Schwartz. You see my point? Like, there's not a lot of dudes there whose names you remember. Maybe some you remember from college, but none that went on to have great pro careers. Like if you look at LSU's all-time leading receivers, Malik Neighbors, Josh Reed, Wendell Davis, Eric Martin, Michael Clayton, Brandon LaFell, Justin Jefferson, Dwayne Bowe, Odell Beckham, Tony Moss, Buster Davis, Jamar Chase. Then you get into like Andy Hamilton, Early Doucette, Todd Kinchin, Brian Thomas, Jarrell Myers, Terrence Tolliver, Jarvis Landry, Kayshawn Booty is 20th. You know what I mean? Like, that's just littered with NFL dudes. It's just really bizarre. Auburn just never really, I'd guess I never really thought of that. I mean, they've always been known for their great running backs. All those years, it was always the running backs. They've never really had great receivers. LSU's always had great receivers. All right, please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel. If you're there on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, Facebook, please like the page, share the post. Remember, Brock Rock and Wine, presented by Audi of Baton Rouge, 1 week from today. Get your tickets, brortho.com. Parish Construction and Roofing. Visit parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. I know people had, God, the rain was awful yesterday. Weather was terrible. If you have a roof leak, think you might, maybe it's a neighbor, a friend, a family member, a coworker, let them know. Parish Construction and Roofing. Go to the website, fill out the form on the homepage. Boom. We're like right when you pull up the website, the form's right there. We'll be in touch with you and we'll get someone out to your house. Parishbuilt.com and Unique Physique. UniquePhysique.com. Semaglutide, tirzepatide, once a week injections for weight loss. You've heard about it. You want to learn more, find out if you're a candidate. You can do the entire thing over telemed. You can go in and see the doctor if you want there on premise in Baton Rouge, or you can do the whole consultation via telemed. So you don't even have to go physically into the office. If you want to do it over the phone, you can. Unique Physique. And by your first month, they'll give you your second month of treatments free. Okay. Where are we? Kyle DeVille. What's funny is Bama fans lost their minds when Saban didn't pick them for the championship game. Mike, have you heard anything about an update on Trey Holly, how Greg Brooks is doing? So, Mike, I did ask Brian Kelly in my one-on-one with him at Media Days about Trey Holly, and he said they are expecting that to be adjudicated this coming week. And so it should be done, and they're expecting him to be in fall camp. As for Greg Brooks, the last update I heard, he's just got a long road ahead of him. And to just, keep lifting him up in prayer, man. Brian, believe Meadows is the best player in this class. That's a mouthful, especially since Underwood is in this class. Carl the Cat, Dr. Checks. Sean, what's going on? Eric Martin, Moss, Wendell Davis were awesome as well. Yeah. Those are my early recollections. Not Eric Martin. Eric Martin with the Saints, but Wendell Davis, Tony Moss. Those are my first memories of LSU football. Those guys. Go Tigers! What's up, Brian Turner? If what's true, what did I miss? Auburn's best receiver. It was somebody from Louisiana. Oh, I got it. Got it. Hey, Dane, good morning. Brad, the 2008 team had a lot of talent to lose 5 games. They did. I mean, it was just, not just me. I think, one of the biggest what ifs in LSU history is Ryan Perrilloux. Because you win the national championship in 07 and you had a ton of talent in 08. Obviously, the Malvito experiment was atrocious on defense, but, Jarrett Lee was just not ready to be a starter, threw a bunch of interceptions and everything. But if you had Perrilloux in 08, do you retain Gary Croton? Do you never have, does Les never go through that 08 season and then just go into a shell offensively as a result? You know what I mean? Because when they were losing games because of the interceptions, Les just made up his mind, like, we're never going to lose that way again. And so they were going to run the ball and just change stylistically what they did. You forget, like in 07, Gary Croton was the wizard and they were wide open and fun and a lot of that stuff. But after 08, everything changed. So, and you went through a decade of basically a regression of offensive philosophy. So, what if Perrilloux didn't get run and was your quarterback in 08 and 09, Brian, Louisiana will always have some pop at wide receiver. Billiot went from unranked to top 100 last year. Yeah. This state produces great skill guys. Like wide receivers, corners, running backs, and then defensive line. I mean, that's what Louisiana produces. What Louisiana doesn't produce a lot of is offensive linemen and quarterback. Although quarterback, we've talked about in the last handful of years, has started to get better. From you had Walker Howard, kid from Zachary who went to Bama, Holstein, obviously Arch, Ricky Collins is at LSU. And there's some really good ones in the pipeline as well. Brandon, what's going on? Hey, Jeff, good morning. Tiger Diver thought there was an update this week that Holly's here and got pushed back to early September. So when there was the judge in the case was J.R. Belton's dad. So I had this conversation with Brian Kelly on Monday. I asked him about it. So the judge in the case was J.R. Belton's dad. And for those who don't know, J.R. Belton, John Randall Belton, who's on LSU staff, is a great recruiter. And so the judge recused himself. And as a result, when that happened a month ago or so, there was a report that the trial had gotten pushed back to early 2025. Well, I asked Brian Kelly about it on Monday, and he said after the recusal, there's a proceeding coming up this week, and they expect it to be adjudicated this week, and that everything will be settled and resolved, and that Holly will be able to rejoin the team at that point. So they do expect to have Trey Holly for fall camp and for the season. Ryan Pike, you think Pickett had been a silent commit this whole time? Is there really any way to know with recruits? I mean, there is a way to know, because a lot of times you hear that the guys are silently committed until they have their day, and the coaches always respect that. But no, I don't think with Pickett he was silently committed. I think it was similar to like with CJ Wiley, who just didn't tell anybody. Go Tigers. What kind of vibes you got from the Texas and Oklahoma people at media days? It was interesting. The Texas thing was interesting because it was very clear that the Texas fatigue is already real. Now, everybody from Texas I talked to was really nice. Just professionally, I didn't have a problem with anybody. But I do understand how, for a team just coming into the league and to have all the expectations, when really over the last 20 years, Oklahoma's been the better program. I mean, they have been. Oklahoma's the one that's been to playoff games and played for championships and all that stuff. Texas hasn't. I mean, outside of 05, and then 09, they were there and lost to Bama. But, man, since 09, they've been bad. But I think they come into the league with a really good roster. You haven't come off a playoff appearance, and their schedule is paved in gold. So, I mean, I had them second in the league behind Georgia. And I mean, if you haven't looked yet, like look at Texas again. Look at Texas's football schedule. Look at their SEC schedule. Week 2, they're at Michigan, and we'll see what Michigan is. Losing Harbaugh and all their players. But here is Texas's SEC schedule: Mississippi State at home, neutral site against Oklahoma, Georgia at home. That's their toughest game. At Vandy, Florida at home, at Arkansas, Kentucky at home, at A&M. Their 4 road conference games are Vandy, Arkansas. I'm sorry, they only got 3 road conference games because they're neutral against Oklahoma. So their 3 true road conference games are Vandy, Arkansas, and Texas A&M, which would be tough going to Kyle Field on Thanksgiving. That's Saturday. But anyway, and then their home conference games are Georgia, Florida, and Kentucky. They get and Mississippi State, and they get neutral against Oklahoma. Like, on the flip side, like, look at Mississippi State's schedule. On the flip side, Mississippi State, God bless them, their 4 road conference games. This is why I picked State second to last in the league, or third to last behind Arkansas, or Arkansas and Vandy behind them. At Texas, at Georgia, at Tennessee, at Ole Miss. Like, that's what Mississippi State draws on the road. I mean, God bless. Like, your schedule matters, man. And Texas has a very manageable schedule. So I get it. Merrick, a lot of NFL wide receivers come out of LSU. The Saints didn't draft any of them. Oh, God, I hate that argument. So dumb. Not saying you're dumb, Merrick. It's just a dumb argument. I go through it all the time. It's like, and they drafted Everett Henderson, but it's like you have to have a year where you're picking a receiver in the right time, and you have a draft grade of a guy who's on the board at the time you're picking. That's the biggest need. There's a lot of things that have to go into it, man. It's like when everybody melted over them not picking Patrick Queen when they needed a linebacker. Yeah, they ended up picking an offensive lineman. They picked Eric McCoy. And you know why? Because we found out like a day later they cut Larry Warford and had to have an offensive lineman. So, yeah. I mean, anyway, I don't want to get in that argument. Excuse me. All right, a few more here. David, I'm marking myself safe from crowd sites. Accidental cyber attack on itself. Did it impact the radio station? No, we were okay, man. Dane, LSU need to have a mainstay recruiter in North Louisiana to get those Pulpwood boys for OL. LSU's actually done pretty well in North Louisiana. That was Steve Ensminger's territory. He was a really good recruiter. You got Joe Sloan, obviously spent the time at Tech. And when he was at Tech, he was recruiting South Louisiana. So he's got good touch points in both. I think you're fine up there. The state just doesn't produce a lot of tackles, Joel, on the business side, does LSU assess value across areas of the team? They're willing to pay Pickett $750K because they got Raymond back on the cheap. Nope. You're blending 2 different conversations, Joel. Coaching salaries and NIL are not coming from the same bucket. That's important to remember. It's why I have these conversations, because there's such a gigantic misconception and misunderstanding of how and how money is spent, where money comes from, all that sort of stuff. Like, LSU is not paying players. We say LSU's offer just for semantics because it's easier, but the LSU collective is an independent organization. Carlos Spate started Bayou Traditions. He's independent of LSU. Now, of course, they're going to work hand in hand and say, okay, well, who do we want to prioritize and all that sort of stuff, right? But the collective is independent of LSU. LSU Athletics pays its coaches' salaries from the revenue that LSU Athletics generates from ticket sales, concession, parking, TV revenue, the SEC distribution, which comes from TV revenue, college football playoff participation, the NCAA football tournament, all the other NCAA events. You understand? Like, That's where coaches' salaries come from. They are not in any way shared, blended, overlapped at all. So what LSU offers from its collective in NIL has quite literally 0.0 repeating to do with coaches' salaries. Rocky, to your point on the wide receiver talent LSU has had over the years and outside of recent years, it's ironic we've had. I don't like when people misuse the word ironic, Rocky, but I'm going to keep reading. It's ironic we've had so many years of boring, lackluster passing games to go along with top-tier wide receiver talent. It's not really ironic at all. It's not ironic. Rocky, have you ever heard me tell that story? I was on my blind date with Erica, and I don't even know how it came up, but I talked about how like people misuse the word irony, how like that bothers me. Y'all know I'm a grammar nerd, and I can't help myself. Erica literally texted me yesterday. She was trying to use the word antsy, like she was getting antsy, and she spelled it A-N-C-Y, and I replied A-N-T-S-Y. Like I was seriously, so it's not just like I cannot help myself. But yeah, it's not ironic. It's just really disappointing that LSU and Louisiana produces great receiving talent and you're not good at it. Irony would be if the state produced great receiving talent and because they produced great receiving talent was the reason you weren't good. That would be ironic, but that's not the reason. Like for example, if you took medicine to heal you and the thing you took to heal you was actually the thing that killed you, like that would be ironic. Like I took this thing to make me better and the thing I was doing to make me better actually hurt me. In the movie Dodgeball, a true underdog story, Patches O'Houlihan has a luck of the Irish sign fall him and kill him. So a sign about the luck of the Irish falls on this Irish man killing him, something that is inherently unlucky. Right? That's irony. Anyway. Go Tigers. I can't believe they got that schedule. I don't know. Gulf South, how does our little state produce so much NFL talent? Louisiana is always top 3 from a per capita perspective. Do we just have better Pee Wee high school coaches? Kids want it more. Interesting. Yeah, man. I think prioritizing football at a young age is part of it. You know, I don't know. Yeah, I think in other states, you have population numbers, right? Georgia, Florida, Texas, California, Ohio. But when you look at comparable states as far as population, I would certainly think like you probably have a higher density of African American athletes or black athletes than like the flyover states in the Midwest, right? And it's no secret that black athletes tend to be more of your skill guys. I'm just thinking out loud here, but like someone made the joke about like Robert Steeple said he was going to be the only brother in Iowa. Like, well, yeah, I mean, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Southern Illinois, Indiana, makes a lot of sense. Like those, your hotbed for skill guys are going to be like, the Gulf South into Texas and then, California, like Southern Cal, SoCal. And I think prioritizing football at a young age is part of it for sure. Like we don't play hockey or lacrosse down here, in the Northeast and the Midwest or the North, they'll play hockey and lacrosse and other sports. It's not to say people don't play baseball or soccer here. They do, but in the winter time in other places, you're probably not playing as much football where you can keep playing football here year round. Flag football is a big deal. as well, which I think really, I mean, you're seeing like 7-on-7 flag football that develops a lot of your skill guys. I think there's a lot of reasons. I mean, I haven't given it a ton of thought as to why, but I think all of those things are part of it, you know. Thomas Lamont, good morning from Little Rock on our way to Branson. All right, dude. Stat, who has the more favorable schedule, Missouri or Texas? Probably Texas, but Missouri is, I mean, I picked Missouri fourth in the league because, you know, they returned their quarterback. Luther Burden, they got good player, and their schedule's manageable. Here you go. Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, right? So they start 3-0. Then they play Vanderbilt at home, so they're 4-0. At A&M, tough game. Then they go at UMass. No idea why, but they play at UMass. By the way, they get an open date between Vandy and A&M. So they go Vandy, open date at A&M. At UMass, home against Auburn, at Alabama. That's tough. Their second open date. Then home against Oklahoma. Then they finish with at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, Arkansas. I mean, can they be 6-2 in the league? You know, can you at A&M, home against Auburn, at Bama, Oklahoma? If you go 2-2, you split those. I think you go 6-2 in the conference. I think Missouri is a 6-2 team in the conference. Go Tigers. Matt, do you think BK telling everyone how much is in the LSU bank account was a great idea? I didn't like it. He didn't say what's in the bank. Again, this is another misconception. That was not what's in the bank account. That was not an NIL number. Please go listen to Locked on LSU if you missed it. That was not an NIL number, okay? He was talking about the revenue sharing, which is starting next football season, okay? Or next school year, I should say. The big settlement between the NCAA and Congress. Part of that is the $2.7 billion, whatever, that'll be redistributed over time. And part of that settlement also included a revenue share going forward. And y'all have seen the number where this athletic, I mean, I've told y'all this, man. So, all right, let me be patient, try to explain it. Moving forward, as part of that settlement, athletic departments will have the opportunity to share as much as 20 or maybe just like 22% of their revenue with their student athletes. Okay. So LSU, in fiscal 2023, expenses were $204 million, revenue just short of $200 million. So they actually operated at a slight deficit, but let's just call it $200 million. Okay. So if your revenue is $200 million, again, that's revenue from ticket sales, concessions, parking, your SEC partnership, the TV revenue, all the stuff that goes in that pot, bowl, college football playoff shares, NCAA tournament shares, College World Series, like all the money, like all of the revenue that LSU Athletics generated, $200 million, right? Okay, this is not tradition fund. This is not donors. This is not donations. This is not collective NIL. This is just the money that LSU Athletics generated, $200 million. They're going to be able to share that revenue now with student athletes. And we know that the dollar amount is going to be in the $22 million range, right? The question has been, how do you divvy up that $20 million, whatever it is, among all your sports? Like, do you have to go 50-50 men's sports, women's sports because Title IX? Apparently what Brian Kelly was saying is the number is going to be between 14 and 17 million for football. So that tells you that they're not going 50-50 with Title IX. And there's been legalities as to whether or not they have to. But the point is that 14 to 17 million is coming from the athletics revenue that will then be shared with the football players. Okay, that 14 to 17, that's not collective money. That's not NIL deals. All of that would be your base, and then collective operates still independent of that. Does that make sense? So that was not the collective number. That's why it's important. Like, There's so much. I'm always surprised, but I shouldn't be, because we have these conversations enough now where like there is a real lack of understanding. Go Tigers. I'm not saying that's you, by the way. I'm just saying, like, in general, this is something that's very interesting to me. So I spent a lot of time having conversations and learning about all this over 20 years. But this is something where there's a real lack of understanding about the dollars and cents among consumers of college athletics. So no, Brian Kelly's saying 14 to 17 million. That's not him saying we have 14 to 17 million in our collective. That's him saying LSU athletics revenue sharing for 2025 will be in the neighborhood of 14 to 17 million for the football roster. That's nothing to do with NIL. Brett DeGrow, if the current recruiting class continues to come together, 26 and 27 feel like it will be special. No doubt. Go look at the 2026 recruiting class as well. What is Ryan Ramchik's injury? He's got knee injuries, probably like degenerative stuff, meniscus, all that sort of stuff. He's had knee injuries. Guy Brooks, good morning. Happy Saturday. What's up, Guy? Good morning, man. Hoping for a big day in football recruiting. Ironic. Here we go. I can't help it. Gulf South. Once colleges start to share revenue, will they be able to find players for off-field actions like Georgia players getting DWIs like the NFL? Good question. I don't think so, because they're not going to be employees. Mike Hardiall, how does it work with scholarship allocation with two sport athletes, like the safety that wants to play baseball? Yeah. You are a scholarship athlete in your primary sport. So he would likely be a scholarship football player who would also play baseball. So football would get the priority. The weird thing is, though, that guy, wait, no, let me not forget his name. Jonah Williams, there was. So Jonah Williams, I was talking to, so when LSU had Jonah Williams on campus for a visit, I called around like some baseball scout buddies and was asking, hey, what is the story? And pretty much consensus on him is like he would be an early first round pick in baseball. Like really, really special baseball talent. Outfield, hit for average with power, great speed, like almost like to say, what are you doing playing football? So we'll see. He may have that decision to make. Like, does he even end up playing football? If he does, like, look, Mo Hampton was a good example of that, right? Mo Hampton was a guy that was going to be a 7-figure signing bonus guy out of high school, but loved football and wanted to come to LSU and be a two-sport guy, and it didn't work out. I think he transferred to Memphis, maybe. I don't remember. But no, Samford. Did he go to Samford? Maybe he was from Memphis and transferred here, left here, went to Samford. James McKinney, good morning. Rocky, sorry, Rocky. Again, it's not you, it's me. It's me. Pierce Lee, wouldn't irony also be that our state is like top 2 in obesity, but we don't produce a lot of O-line talent? Not really, just a coincidence. Donovan Peterson, do we all know what day, if any, Skenes will throw in Houston? So was talking to Terrio about that yesterday. It looks like Monday the 29th would be the day that he pitches. So because Terrio and I are actually trying to get there for that. Long story, but anyway. But yes, that's what I literally asked that yesterday, and Terrio talked to Skenes, and Skenes said, like, it's not set yet this far out, but it looks like Monday would be his day, Monday the 29th. Kyle DeVille, I have faith LSU makes it to the college playoffs. I can't have no in my heart after seeing what BK has done with our kids and our program in 2 years. Dr. Evil. Alanis Morissette has a whole song about irony. Yeah, Tiger Diver. And actually, nothing in that song is ironic, which actually kind of is the irony. She wrote a song about irony, and nothing in the song is ironic. So, I don't know if she did that intentionally or she just doesn't know what irony is. There's actually a website where they took the examples she gave in that song and explained what actual examples of irony would be. Hang on. Here it is. Um, $10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife in the employee break room of a Henkel's cutlery factory. That would be ironic. uh, Tanya, I'm dying at your reply to this comment. You truly can't help yourself, can you? Love you, Matt. What can I say, Tanya? It's just I really just can't. I don't know why. I can't. I just go Tigers. Getting inner city kids the opportunity to play football in Louisiana has been the key. Really good Pee Wee coaches and programs. But even before, I mean, go back 100 years, go back 60 years. The 1959 LSU championship team, or the 58 championship team, was made up of a bunch of dudes from Baton Rouge. Like, how did that happen? It wasn't a lot of inner city kids, I mean, it goes back. It's always kind of been that way, which is the weird thing, I guess. New Jersey puts tons of kids in the NCAA and NFL per capita, but puzzles how schools like Rutgers can't keep any of them home. We start tackle at 5 years old. I mean, I was playing Park League tackle football in New Orleans, the 87, 88 pound league. I think we're like 87, 80, or maybe it was 1987. Maybe it was like an 85 pound league. I don't know, whatever it was. Robert Mason, do we have any times with 2 recruits? Yes. So 2 o'clock for Derek Meadows, 4 o'clock for Jaboree Antoine. Christian, real question of easier schedule isn't between Mizzou and Texas, but Ole Miss and Texas. I think they have the 2 easiest. I think it shapes up that way. But if you're looking for I think Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss should be your 3 playoff teams. I think the real question is, do you get a 4th? And if you do, it's that question of Missouri, Bama, LSU, Tennessee, that group. Let's see. Go Tigers. My point was other schools will probably have much more revenue shares and use that number against us in recruiting. No, they won't. That's kind of the point. So, let's just look at it's all going to be very comparable. It's going to be so Alabama's revenue last year was 199.9 million, right? I told you LSU's was a shade under 200 million. Same thing. 20. Let's look at 2023, and remember, let's see. Oregon athletics revenue in 2023 was 138 million. Remember, LSU's was 200 million. That's because they were in the Pac-12, and the revenue share in the Pac-12, the distributions is dramatically less than the SEC and the Big Ten. So SEC, Big Ten have been comparable. Let's look at like Ohio State. Ohio State was 279. So Ohio State's was higher than because the Big Ten had done their TV deal prior, but even at 279, let's do this math. 279 million. All right, let's say you take times 0.2. So 20% would be roughly 55 million, let's say. Of that, 75% goes to football. So you're sharing $41 million among your football team. Let's see, divided by, and they're talking about 110 scholarship players. That'd be 380. Now let's see what happens with the SEC revenue with the new TV deals. Because if SEC revenue, which of course is going to go up this year with the new TV contract with ESPN, pushes to that 300 million range, LSU and the rest of the SEC should be comparable to that number because of the new deal. Where you're going to have a massive gap is going to be the ACC, the Big 12, the Pac-2, because they obviously aren't going to have nearly the deal, the TV deal. So like, let's see, SEC's TV deal is a 10-year deal. TV deal value. So $3 billion. So 10-year, $3 billion. So annual payment of $300 million. Big 10 TV deal value. So 10-year, $3 billion. They did a Big Ten did 7-year, $8 billion. No, here you go. Where's the other SEC? Hang on. Let's see. So, okay. So they're projecting SEC schools topping $100 million per school annually on the new TV deal. So let's see what was distributed last year. All right, here you go. This is a better way. Okay, so the Big Ten revenue was at $879 million. The SEC revenue is at $852 million, and that's before the new SEC deal went into place. So that $25 million gap there should be filled with the new SEC deal. So each school from the Big Ten this past year got $60 million. The SEC schools distributed each got $51 million. And again, that was the year before the SEC's new TV deal goes into place. So the SEC's TV deal will expect it to bump it closer to where the SEC and the Big Ten will be on level playing field. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Gulf South, does each football player have to be paid the same? That's a great question. And so that's what they're still deciding. So for example, in that, so look at the settlement, right? The settlement with the NCAA and the federal lawsuit. So they're paying back like $2.7 billion over 10 years to student athletes. Well, they're not going to pay Trevor Lawrence the same thing they're going to pay a swimming and diving, a diver from Iowa. Okay. So what they're doing is creating a formula to weight, and this is going to take a long time. They're creating a formula to weight the impact of every student athlete that's eligible to get paid. So like Trevor Lawrence may get $500,000 and the diver may get $1,000, right? Based on whatever their weighted impact is on this algorithm they're going to create. So all that to say, they can, and probably at some places will, use something similar to weight that in football. So like, would Jaden Daniels get more than Jeremiah Hughes? Yes, of course, from last year's LSU team, right? So how that plays out, though, is still not been determined. Or do you just give everybody an equal share of that revenue? It's just it hasn't been determined yet. Will Zion start this year? Zion Williamson or Zion Williams, the defensive lineman? Marcus, hey, Matt, what's the latest on Trey Holly? Yep, asked Brian Kelly that on Monday. They expect it to be adjudicated this week. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be done this week. Will every college baseball player on scholarship receive full rides now? Can they still give some guys partial? The thought is that with revenue sharing, that everybody will have their tuition paid for. Go Tigers. What are they doing when they give these kids money? So what are they doing when they just give these kids money? Are they 1099 and say pay your taxes? I think so. Yeah, they're not employees. So they are going to have to be responsible for 1099 revenue. Yes. I mean, I'm not an accountant. I don't know what, obviously. I don't know that for certain, but that would stand to reason that's the case, right? I don't think LSU is like withholding taxes for these guys. Darren, morning Scone, looks like our pivotal game is Ole Miss. I totally agree. I think if you start 5-0, you get an open date before you play Ole Miss. If you beat them and go 6-0, I think worst case is you're 4-2 in the second half of your schedule, and you go 10-2 and you're in the playoff because of a head-to-head against Ole Miss. Because I think Ole Miss is going to lose to Georgia. So if you and that game is in Oxford, by the way, the Georgia game. So if you lose to Ole Miss though, or stub your toe either against USC or South Carolina, then you lose to Ole Miss and you lose a couple on the back end, then you're looking at a really disappointing year. But I totally agree. If you get to 6-0, if you're 5-0 going into your open date, then you host Ole Miss. That will be a massive environment in Tiger Stadium. If you get that one to go to 6-0, I think you're a playoff team. You should be a playoff team. Kyle, what's your opinion on Blake Shapen? Spoke to Blake, actually. Had a one-on-one with him at Media Days. He was great. Kid from Evangel. Had a really hot start at Baylor, was the MVP of that Big 12 championship game with Dave Aranda in 2021. Saw his playing time sort of decrease the last 2 years, and then transferred, and Jeff Lebby's named him his starter already, had him at Media Days. I just think Mississippi State, 3 head coaches in 3 years. And you lose Avion Thomas, new quarterback, new offensive system. I just think it's going to be a long year in Starkville. Marty Moonbeam, what's going on? Kyle, do you think Ole Miss finally makes the championship game? I do not. Robert Mason, what's better, grammar IQ or math skills? I don't know. Probably say grammar IQ because I can always use a calculator for math. Gulf South, if LSU had $200 million revenue, wouldn't they have to share $40 million since it's 20% and not just $20 million? Or did I hear that wrong? Hey, bud. So, let's see. $22%. 22% is what they'd be looking at. So that 22% Gulf South, again, it's got to be shared among all athletes across the athletic department. And maybe the 14 to 17 is what Brian Kelly was talking about. That would be the football take of that, if that makes sense. That's again, and none of this is 100% defined yet. The 22% thing is, and they can share. Remember, they don't have to share 22%. They can share up to 22%. So maybe it's something where they don't share as much as 22%, but all that's still to be determined. Samuel, how can y'all keep all of this incoming help happy? Jay has a hard job ahead of him. Do you think they're done on the portal? I think they still want to add one more. I don't think I know. They want to add one more catcher. And I think it's a very different situation from a year ago, because a year ago you were replacing Dylan Cruz and Trey Morgan and Jordan Thompson and Braden Jobert and Gavin Dugas and Cade Beloso. I mean, you had a whole bunch of starters you were replacing. So you had a lot of jobs open, guys vying for jobs. This year, you're replacing Tommy White on the infield and Milazzo Travinsky at catcher, DH. Priester is going to be your starting catcher. I think Danny Dickinson is your starting third baseman. Everything else is set. I mean, some of those first base DH guys are going to vie for the DH role with Bear Jones back at first. There just aren't as many opportunities as there were a year ago. Let's see, go Tigers. I have a feeling in the future they will cut the roster to more like an NFL roster. Actually, go Tigers. It's the, I don't mean to just be combative with you this morning, man. It's the opposite. They're talking about expanding the roster from 85 to 110. Marty, your favorite restaurant in BR? Depends what I want. Obviously, I endorse Supper Club, which is a phenomenal place if you want that really fun fine dining experience. Eric and I love Rufino's. That's been a spot we've gone to forever. Celebrated a lot of special occasions there. Eric loves the fish and papillote at Louisiana Lanyap. It really just depends what you want to do, what you're looking for. Spectrum. Chris Stanfield. I mean, Stanfield could vie for an outfield job. I think Ashton Larson and Jake Brown are two of your starters, and then you've got Josh Pearson, Stanfield, Derek Curiel, maybe all vying for one of the corner outfield spots. I think they should let Bear Jones catch some. He's not bad. There's literally no chance he ever catches again. He's a first base DH. He's too big to catch. Like I'm telling you, he's not catching ever again. Kyle DeVille, does Texas win the SEC and the Natty in their first year? Also, good morning, Drew. I think Georgia wins the SEC. But I do think we see Georgia, Texas in the regular season, then again in Atlanta. Not surprised Brady Neal went to Bama, or surprised Brady Neal went to Bama, or did you have the inside scoop? Not that he was going to Bama. I knew he was leaving. I mean, I told you that for a month. But from Tallahassee, a lot of the early scuttle was that he was looking at Florida State. But I have no idea what Florida State had on their roster or whatever. It might have been a situation at Bama where like they could guarantee him. Brady Neal wanted guarantees that he would start X amount of games, get so many at bats, and he wanted an NIL figure. And you couldn't guarantee him that. So no. Let's see. Samuel, great listen. Musso at the Box, very informative. Yeah, y'all go give Musso a follow for Musso at the Box. Marty, can we bring back purple color changing helmets? I did not like him, Marty. When it comes to uniforms, I'm a little more of a traditionalist. Well, let me say it this way. If you have a classic timeless uniform, I don't want to mess with it. If you're Oregon and you don't have a great classic timeless uniform and you want to do a bunch of different alternates, okay. But when you have something like USC or LSU or Notre Dame, Ohio State, like don't mess with something that's timeless. Okay. Let me get one more. Mike, did coaches mention anything about the pressure of having to keep recruiting players that commit early and keep being players on the roster happy so they don't transfer? Keep recruiting players. Are you talking about football or baseball? Keep recruiting players that commit early. I mean, I think that's always part of it. I mean, I think you always keep recruiting guys that commit early. And I think it's a challenge to keep re-recruiting your roster in a portal era. I think that's absolutely true. Okay, let's wrap this thing up, man. God, we've been going for a while now. How long have we been going? Hour and 23 minutes. Okay, thanks so much for being here with us, y'all. Smash that like button on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Facebook, please like the page, share the post. Remember, Brock Rock and Wine, 1 week from today, presented by Audi of Baton Rouge. Parrish Construction and Roofing. Parrish is pinned in the chat. If you need a roof inspection, we'd love to help you out. Just fill out the form on the homepage. Unique Physique, semaglutide, tirzepatide, once a week injections for weight loss. Y'all check them out. You do the whole thing via telemed, uniquephysique.com, uniquephysique.com. And of course, Crystal Poche over at Restored Motions and restoredmotions.com. Y'all have an awesome Saturday. Go Tigers.